I'm very happy to be here. I came here because my dad, before he died last year, was stumped for Labour for the last two elections, 2015, 2017. He also stumped for Labour in 1945, which was the first time he voted. Last week, a year ago, my dad died, and he was 95. And what is one of the most remarkable things is that he is British history, modern British history. Here's a man who was connected to the 21st century, but can remember ever so dimly his dad, who was a Barnsley miner, taking him to the picket line in 1926, the general strike. And that this sort of became ingrained in his DNA, the rights of trade unionism, the rights of individuals to lead decent lives through their work, and if they cannot work, that they are to be taken care of, because everybody matters in society. Everybody has a right to contribute to society. And this is what my father believed all through his life. And I'm going to get back to his early part, but it really didn't gel until the last decade of his life. He was an ordinary guy. He did his bit in the Second World War. He married my mother, who was a German. They emigrated back here. Then, she was the first German in Halifax at that time, more or less. But there was no animosity. And think of this. My mother came here in 1948, several months before the beginning of the NHS. And she was loved and respected. And this is a country that we were at war with only 3 years ago. And she said, and she has two experiences, because they did emigrate to Canada, and she did not receive that same type of respect and understanding that she got in Britain when she first came here. In Canada, they were very racist. But having said that, my parents lived an ordinary life. They built ordinary things because of the welfare state, because of the ability for a person like my father, who left school at 14, had minimal education, was given under a Labour government, an Attlee Labour government, the right to go to night school, improve himself. And my mother, who was just a new immigrant to this country, was allowed to go and improve herself. So throughout all of this, life moved on. Parents always left wing, always standing for Labour causes. Even though we were in Canada, my dad was always back and forth for his work. They brought us over for the strike, the miners' strike, because my father wanted to show me and my other brothers what his land was doing to the people that had built this nation, had actually fueled it and given it so much wealth, the miners. Then 10 years ago, my brother Peter, he died. He was a schizophrenic, but he died of interstitial pulmonary fibrosis. That leveled my father. He was in a deep depression. We moved to Portugal because at that time I was also in the wine and spirit industry, so I could move. We went there because we both thought it was good. He wasn't ready. He really did not want to live, and he was almost done for it. And he got very sick with a leg clot, and I brought him home. And I said, we've got two choices. I said, I can really plow on with my business. I won't see you a lot. Or, this is just an idea, Dad. You can start writing about your life. And he goes, who's going to care about this? I said, your stories, which I grew up with as a kid, and they weren't stories told around the table. It was because when at bedtime, I got tired of listening to Pooh Bear and that sort of thing. So I said, tell me about your life. So he would relate about how his sister, his eldest sister Marion, died of tuberculosis and was taken to a workhouse. And in between all of these sad stories were stories of great humor and great love, and how people fought to build a proper society. And that where working class people were not marginalized, and they were not easily swayed by the lure of fascism as they are now. Throughout all of this. So, my dad started to write, and he said, nobody's got to listen to this. And I said, you just start writing, we'll work on that. And then he wrote his first book. And there wasn't really going to be much interest yet, but I knew that they would come. And I said to him, I said, you know what? I said, a friend of mine told me about this thing called Twitter. What do you think about that? He said, what do you do? I said, at that time, I think it was 140 characters. I said, you just say anything you want on it, and hopefully somebody will listen. I said, all right, I'll try. And he did it, and he just kept on doing it every day because he enjoyed it. And it was something where if he was reading The Guardian or The Mirror or something like that, or he was pissed off by something, he could just blow it out there. Kept on doing that, started writing more and more essays, wrote another book, and he moved on, and slowly but surely. And then suddenly, Harry's Last Stand. He wrote that. And it's because he had an agent, and he said, I really think we've got something here. I think you should be also really engaging in politics. So he wrote Harry's Last Stand. And it was like lightning in a bottle. Because in Harry's Last Stand, this is everybody's story. Everybody's ancestors, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents lived the working class life, which was a horrible existence before the welfare state. And what the most important thing about Harry's Last Stand was, it made people, or it should make people, proud to have come from the working class stock, proud to have been trade unionists, proud to have voted for Labour, proud to have believed in a Britain which Jeremy Corbyn believes in, where it's for the many and not the few. And then from there, my dad would speak anywhere, just to remind people in his own humorous way, in his own loving way, that this country is about all of us. It's not about the 1%, it's about the 99%, and our hopes, dreams, and ambitions, and our right to an existence that is not only beneficial to the state, but beneficial to us and gives us something back. Because even though my dad lived 95 years, he always said, enjoy yourself, because it's later than you think. And that's one of those things that we always have to be mindful of that in this battle, because this battle will be going on for a very long time until we actually rebuild a country where there is no fear of poverty, no fear of disability, no fear that you are going to be living in such precarious work that you're not going to be able to pay the rent, you're not going to be able to pay the electric, you are always on eggshells, and nobody should live like that. So, I'm going to leave it with this, that the thing is that the legacy of my dad is the legacy that we all have here by the Labour Party that we have recreated to be like 1945, but be like the 21st century. Something similar, but something greater, something more inclusive than 1945, and something that can brilliantly change this country and make us a leader again in the right way, with a Great Britain, which is really great, because it is this nation of inclusivity, and it's not a nation of empires, but a nation of people doing the right thing. So thank you.